Hello. Okay, it's usually the first like 20 seconds of this is usually a hot mess of just getting things done, and I'm gonna hit that right at the beginning. Oh yeah. Um See, now this is a problem. A, my hair is a hot mess. Please don't comment on my hair because I'm getting it sorted out this week. I look like a sheep. Um Two, there is a sweet spot with this microphone. It's not here. It's not here. It's not here. It's right here. This is the sweet spot. This is where everything sounds amazing. But the only problem is I look like I'm filleting my microphone. So we're gonna have to figure something out. I mean that's okay, but I have to like do that. So I think we're gonna do this, this. The horizontal yeti. That sounds like a sex position. Sorry. Okay. We're gonna play with the horizontal yeti today. Go to your Kama Sutra guides and go to page 427 and you will see the horizontal yeti. Hello to the 4 people who are watching this and wondering what the fuck is going on. Why is Shiggy talking about weird sex positions? I'm not. I'm talking about my microphone and the position I'm putting my microphone or trying to, because this thing is freaking heavy for my microphone arm, which then means, oh god, it's all about angles with this thing, isn't it? Is she talking about sex or is she talking about microphones? I'm talking about microphones. All right, here we go. Okay, if I do that, then cool. On the video side of things, I apologize. Why is it really bitty today? That's interesting. I apologize if the lighting's a bit weird. Just like black people and this just doesn't really work. And then obviously like the sun is doing its thing outside, so I'm trying to counterbalance it. Wow, I've got really puffy bags under my eyes. I worked a lot last night. Anyway, today's episode, I'm gonna put the sticky note here. It's episode 39 apparently. I'm one episode behind with uploading. It's titled Watch Your Words. Watch Your Words. Music Part 1. And I have been trying to avoid doing this episode for so long. Like, talking about music for some reason causes all the fear, all the fear in my person. So, you got to do, where's that book? Is that book on display at the moment? It is not. However, there's a book I have called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And well, yes, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm feeling the fear of the music things and I am doing it anyways. Yes, that's episode 39. There we go. Well, the stream seems to be fine. The bitrate's gotten a bit weird, but there we go. So, today's episode is Watch Your Words Music Part 1. And then I have Purpose Thrashing and a story. Everyone likes a good story, and that's what's gonna happen. So, yeah, I think I'll do the intro. Oh, auto ducking, enable. I'm gonna do the intro thing as usual, and we'll get started today. I feel it's gonna be a quick episode. I say that I want it to be 40 minutes or less. But we'll see how emotionally charged this becomes and how much of a rampage I go on. If, as and when you're watching this, like throw a hello in the comments, whichever way it is. If it's there, if it's here, if it's down there on YouTube or wherever. Say hello. Let me know you're here and doing the things and sending the loves, and I can send love back at you because that's what we do on a Tuesday. Okay, right. Let's get this thing started. Hang on. Hey, Nell. Okay. Something is going. Oh, I know what's going on. I did. I did a bad thing. I did it. Did it. This needs to go through that microphone. Okay. So that should be better. What's the camera doing? The camera's fine. All right. Let's try that again, shall we? This is why behind the scenes you always get the interesting things, and then I get to change them and fix them. Okay, output is not core output. Output is, oh, it's not even in there. Okay, oh no, but there's a delay. I don't want the delay. Fuck the delay. Let's not do that, shall we? All right, let's try this again. hello once again. It is me, Shiggy, the person who talks on this podcast. Welcome to another episode. Today we are on episode 39, apparently, according to my post-it notes, which is always fun. So, with this episode, I think I'm just going to cut to the chase, really, because time is ever pressing forwards, and so we go. So, in today's episode, I've got on the sticky note, and which is the title of today of what we're talking about. It's called "Watch Your Words," and then it says "Music Part 1" in the brackets, which is very ominous sounding, and there is a reason why this came up. I'm pretty sure at some point in the past 2 weeks or so, because last week was a bit weird for me. There was something that kind of brought it to my attention and had me feeling the feels about the thing. And this, with music, if you know me, I'm heavily involved in all things audio related, music related. A little quick backstory. I have played the cello from the age of 6. I haven't really been playing it much over the last, I can actually say 15 years. So just a little under half of my life, I haven't played my cello. I still have a cello. I'm looking at its glorious flight case now, and I take it out from time to time to make sure the bridge is okay. Because if the bridge goes, then the sound post goes, and then it's like a whole freaking mess. And it's a really good student cello. Like, for a student cello, it doesn't sound like a student cello. So I've played a cello from the age of 6. I have the ability to play 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 8 instruments, because I have relative pitch. So my biological father has what's the pitch? What is it called? It's not relative, perfect pitch. I think it's perfect pitch, yeah. So my dad has perfect pitch, but he plays a whole bunch of fretted instruments like guitars and bass guitars and everything, and I can play fretless instruments. And it's quite funny, when I first met him in person, and that was probably about only 4 years ago. I reached out to my biological father 4 years ago, on Facebook, as you do, on Father's Day, and just said, "Hey, happy Father's Day. I assume to be dad." And he sent a message back, and it was chill. And when he was in the UK, we met up and stuff, and that was great. Like, so there's a relationship there, which is being nurtured, but I'm not really pushing it or pressing it too much, because it's been a weird old time with basically my immediate family all being dead, and then he's like the last left immediate family, and like I haven't even known about him for like 33 years of my life. All weird, all very weird, but huge side note coming back in musical instruments. So I have relative pitch, and I can play about 8 instruments or so. Cello's my first one, and I had piano lessons. I learned how to play the piano, and I kind of am learning how to play the guitar, but the fingering positions steady are a little bit different to cello, and my hand is just so kind of predisposed to cello musings as opposed to like guitar finger things, and this, it's all strange. But I can play the guitar. I play bass. I learned how to play bass quite extensively, to the point I was actually slapping bass, which is quite hard when you like slap and pick. And I got that speed and dexterity down, and then I stopped playing for ages. So now I play bass very basically. And oboe and drum kit and djembe, African drums, and I suppose if you consider the berimbau an instrument, then I can play that quite well. Hey Jim, what's going on? Yes, Jim, old school, OG, man. University, Brunel Brunel University, man. Old school OG in the house. Hey, dude. So loads and loads of instruments. A berimbau, professionally trained vocalist as well. I had vocal training for like 6 years across school and privately at uni and stuff. Self-taught piano. Did I mention oboe? I think I mentioned oboe. I have a flute. A friend of mine gave me a flute uh, just before lockdown, and he's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right then. Let's see how this. I can play the flute. I figured out all the notes. I can play a diddly do on the flute. I taught myself in like 2 days how to play the flute. But I need to expand on that. Anyway, huge digression. It has been a while, Jim. Huge digression. Um, when I was in school, in primary school especially, I had the cello and started playing around with the oboe, but mainly focused on cello. I was in the orchestras. I was in, you know, duets, triplets, trios, quintets, all the things, right? Just getting my music on, and I was doing quite well, right? Trying to focus on one thing is really really difficult, and I ended up being quite good at music, and I was pursuing it and having fun and loving the space. And I think at one point, my mom told me this story. Um, I apparently came home one day from school just really sad, really just kind of deflated and defeated. And she's like, "What's wrong? Did you have good music practice?" And I said, "Yeah, it was okay, but the music teacher said if I wanted to be really really good at music, I'd have to be a starving artist for the rest of my life." And my mom was like, "What? No, no, you don't. You don't need to be." Cool, Jim. Thanks for being here, man. So my mom was like, you don't need to be, a starving artist. Like you can be a musician." Unfortunately, my 10-year-old brain was not going to listen to my mother, an executive salesperson for BMW at the time, versus a musician, a music teacher who did the music, who did the thing that I was into, and he said you'd probably have to be a starving artist. I don't know if he said for the rest of your life, but for me, the rest of your life came in, and I was just like, no, that I don't want to be starving in any way, shape, or form. You're telling a Kenyan child in Kenya, right, where poverty is right in, like, poverty is on your window, okay? And I'm not talking about like, oh, a little bit of, no, full on your way to school, you will probably see a dead, inflated body on the side of the road. Poverty, right? You might, if you want to take a shortcut, you have to go through Kibera slums, which is, I think, the seventh biggest slum in the world, right? Or is it the fifth? I don't know. Between Soweto in South Africa and Kenya, there's big. We got some big slums. So telling a Kenyan child, who's in a, for all intensive purposes, in a middle class British led school, that she would have to be starving to carry on doing her music. I was like, no, I pieced out of that. I'm like, I am not pursuing music because I don't want to be what I see on the way to school. I don't want to like see the struggle. I am very happy where I am, and I don't want to like fall into that. I don't want to deliberately fall into that space of poverty and everything, which is yeah, telling someone that, like telling a child that, which is why this episode is called Watch Your Words, because especially around, I'd probably say anyone under the age of 20, you say stuff like that to them, they might not like externally or to your face kind of process that, or tell you maybe you're wrong, or tell you maybe that they don't like it or whatever, but certainly internally they're going to take that on board. And you don't know how that's going to manifest. That will either drive someone towards that goal or drive them away from it. For me, it kind of pushed me in the opposite way, because I'm like, I'm Kenyan. I don't want to die. I'm good. So if music means I'm going to die, then I'm good. That's basically how it got strung in my head as a 10-year-old. But I did keep on pursuing music as a hobby. So so the intensity and level of drive that I had stopped at the age of 10, and it was a marked difference. My mother noticed from that day forwards, I did good enough, right? I think this is where the good enough thing started for me. I think it started earlier, to be honest, but that the level of expectation everybody had with music, with my ability in music, was so high And I just started self-sabotaging myself, so people's expectations started kind of getting lower to the point where they didn't have expectations of what I was doing. They were just like, Shiggy's really good at music, and that's it, you know. And I liked that. I liked being invisible, which again, that's probably God. This music teacher, if you're watching, we need to have a chat. You need to fix it. That's not how any of this works. But so from that, I kept on just playing music and, you know, kind of doing my little things, trios, playing here, playing there. Secondary school, I was part of the small orchestra there. With that, my maths teacher helped me out with math because, is it math or maths? Is it both? I don't know. I know there's not a singular or plural with math, but it's a thing. I'm just gonna say math because that feels better. I don't know what that was. So I discovered my math teacher, maths. I'm gonna say maths. My maths teacher is, I don't know if she still is, Mrs. Andrews, a trombone player as well, and she just basically played the horn section. So she played the French horn and I think the trombone as well, which is like this. If you saw the stature of this woman, right? She's just a zero bullshit kind of tough love, right? She trying to kind of organize an unruly class of, I think we were B stream or A stream, because we had three streams, like with English and maths, and we had in the second secondary school I went to, um up in Yorkshire. So a tough, staunch Yorkshire woman, right? Takes no shit from anybody, but was the most chill person in the world when she didn't have to deal with a pack of hyenas. Because that's what her class was like sometimes. And I, like, algebra was my favorite thing to do, which is a weird flex. But there was certain aspects of the probability of algebra and maths and stuff. Okay, now, so math in USA, maths in the UK. That's why I'm conflicted, because I have both influences in my existence of person. So I'm going to flip between the two because I have a slightly American accent, but also I live in the UK. So, winning. um, so you know, she was a very staunch, hardcore kind of woman, but just with a very soft center if she allowed you in, which she did with me, because when we played music, you know, that was her kind of off time, which was cool. And it was my off time because it was an extracurricular activity that we did. And I can't read music. For all the instruments that I play, I rely on my relative pitch to play music. When I learned how to play the cello, my cello teacher actually created a number system on top of the notes for me to read. So basically, all manuscripts end up having a really long phone number, right? It doesn't matter if we're playing Vivaldi's Four Seasons or if I'm playing a little improvised 14 over 9 piece, right? If there's notes on it, I have to figure out what the note is on the fingerboards, and then I put the number and then the letter next to it. So if I'm on like the C string, right, which is the bass note of a cello, and I need to play 4, I don't know what that note is, but I know I'm on a C string and 4. And then if I'm on C second position, so C little 2, and then 1, 2. So there's on the cello neck board, there's like at least 4 different positions as you go further down the neck towards the bridge. Same with the violin. So if you're here, you go, you know, you got position 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like your hand starts doing this weird amalgamated thing as you go further down the neck. But it's a little bit easier because the violin's shorter than a cello and shorter than a double bass. Doing that on a double bass was tough, learning that. So my cello teacher created a number system for me, right? And my trombone teacher, my math teacher, saw on my music, my sheet music, that there was this entire like number system on there, and she's just like, you don't read music, do you? And I'm just like, no. And she's like, oh, have you always been this way? I'm just like, yeah, it just worked for me. My cello teacher created it for me, and it's just what I do now. So, you know, the first time Everyone plays the music. I always ask someone to play the music for me, and whilst they're playing it, I'll look at their fingers and I'll scribble down like the world's longest phone number, and then I'll just put that on top of of the sheet music, so it looks like I'm reading. So at least the conductor doesn't like kind of tell me off for things. But ultimately, I'm just reading phone numbers. And she's like, "That's really really interesting. You know, it looks like algebra." And I was just like literally like when she said that, I looked at this number system, and sometimes things get really complicated when you're jumping across things. So you get, kind of, there'll be brackets because there'd be like C and then 2, 3, and then like D and then 4. And then like it literally started looking like algebra when she said it. And I was just like, oh my God. It was so cool. I was just, all of a sudden I got really excited with music because I now saw like a technical aspect of music. And that's when she started talking about compounding with music, and then compounding with like probability and fractions and maths as well. And I was just like, I am here for all of this. Why has no one told me this before? Like literally, I was just like besides myself. So I ended up doing like extra classes in math just because my music teacher blew my mind during one practice session. It was actually a few practice sessions, just showing me how my I'm gonna say it, even though my brain is just like, this is hilarious. My fingering system with the cello, with playing the cello and playing in orchestras and stuff, was actually a weird algebraic formula that I was playing with. And from that, you could pull into compounding and different aspects of algebra. And it really helped with my math. Like I have to say, if I didn't do that, I probably would have averaged probably a B, probably a C, D. And math, I think like coursework and stuff for GCSEs were A. And then the exam itself, I think I averaged out on a high B. So I averaged out B as a result, which I'm thankful for. Like, the technical aspects. So moving forwards for that. So watch your words, part 2. So part 1 was, the downfall, the music teacher at primary school telling me if I wanted to be a good musician, I'd have to be a starving artist. And being a Kenyan child in Kenya, living a fairly middle class life, being told I have to be a starving artist put the fear of God into me. All right. And I was just like, fuck that. It's not happening. So fast forward into secondary school, where I'm kind of just doing it as a hobby. My math teacher kind of looks at what I'm doing to just survive with all this stuff. And she's just like, you realize what you're doing is basically semi-advanced algebra, and your issues with probability don't exist, because if you're reading that, I need to find one of my old manuscripts and put it up on the website for you guys to read, because it's sometimes it's out of control. And she's like, if you're doing that, then the issues you have with probability are just the mental wall that you're putting up for absolutely no reason, just to fit in with everyone else. Oh, burn. It was true. Because I was just with, around people like, oh, I don't get it. And I'm just sat there going, I don't get it too. But I did. I just didn't want to do it and, kind of show up. So second part, watch your words. She kind of pulled me out of that hole of just like, being average and whatever, and showed me a technical aspect of music. So technical music exists. So, fast forward into A levels, and I decide, you know what? I enjoyed music as a hobby at secondary school. I didn't do music GCSE because I have an issue with exams. I mean, I'll do exams if I have to, but if I don't have to, I'll avoid it. If I have the knowledge, I don't need a piece of paper kind of saying she has the knowledge. Like, I have the knowledge. Like, why do I need a paper to say that? She has to renew her knowledge. I have Google. Thank you very much. Like, if I need to check something new, then I'll do that. So, when I was studying cello, still at school, I was still doing cello lessons. My cello teacher begged me to at least do one exam. And I said, what exam do I do? What exam level? She wanted me to do grade 7. I said, abso-freaking-lutely not, because you have to study like Renaissance music and Baroque period, and like you have to do a full-on exam with like classical music, and they ask you questions about Beethoven and Mozart and Chopin and all this. I'm like, I don't care. I don't I like some of their music. I like the canons. I like the this and I like the that. But don't ask me to do a whole exam of like, no, I don't want to. I don't care. Give me music. That's all I want. I want to feel it in my body. I don't want to extrapolate parroting. Breathe, Shiggy. So she said, okay, fine. Well, like if you go to grade four is the level that you can go up to where you like you'll breeze through it. It'll be easy for you. So I did grade four and I passed with distinctions or whatever the hell it is. I got it in a folder somewhere. And I did that. I didn't study for it. I just went in. I did actually, that's a lie. I did actually study how to listen, and I actually failed because, you know, again, I've got relative pitch, so I can hear notes and stuff. And the time frame they give you to, they play a note and you have to say what it is. I would have to like go through the cello and like go through things, and then find like, you know, my milestone points of ADGC. So that point I kind of failed a little bit because I took a little bit longer when they did some odd notes, and I'm just like, oh no, and you're not allowed to look at the keys on the piano, which is really annoying. You have to stand on the other side of the upright piano. So, but I passed. You know, it's neither here nor there. So, watching words part 3, I decided I love music, but you know, and my math is pretty good, and I'm doing A level, and I don't want to do any conventional things, so I decided to do music technology out of the blue. Like math is half decent. I think physics I got a D, but thankfully I got an A in biology and I think a B in chemistry. So my double award science was a BB score. So I don't know how I got to do music technology at A levels. I don't think they really kind of tested it. Just like, yeah, do whatever. It's cool. If you don't do well, then you can switch over. So I did music technology, and the music side of things was relatively easy, but I love the fact that my teacher, again, Mr. Long, oh, my first teacher was Mr. Thomas. There you go. Oh, God. I've just outed Mr. Thomas. So Mr. Thomas was my first primary school teacher. Mrs. Andrews was my math teacher in secondary school, but also a badass like horn player, and taught me how to take my advanced algebra off my music onto into actual math. And now we have Mr. Long. Mr. Long is a G. Like he's ex-military again. Ex-military from the music kind of section of the UK military. And he introduced me to the 6 Ps, not the 5 Ps, the 6 Ps. And what was it? It's prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. So it's usually 5, but he puts piss poor in there because reasons. Because that's the way he rolled. He will cuss you the fuck out if you messed up, and I live for it. And my cat's being strange. Why are you being strange? Calm your shit. Okay. So yeah, so he's a G. Mr. Long is a G. He still is if he's out there. It's like Mr. Long is a G. So he introduced me to music technology, and with music technology at that time, this is 2002. Did I do it? 2004. Yeah, so 2002, and we still had analog stuff. So we had a huge mixing board, and we used Cakewalk as our digital audio workstation of choice. We also played with Cubasis and Logic when it was still on PCs. That's how old this stuff is. It's great. We worked on PCs. I work on a Mac now, but so Logic, Cubase, Cubasis, Cakewalk, Sonar as well. Those are all the digital kind of things. We use Cakewalk because we had a hardware device for recording music. Is a Fostex. So we had a Fostex unit, which was on a rack. If this all sounds like Greek to you, I'm sorry. This is me just geeking out over like the first kind of steps into music technology that created me as I am now. But still going in the theme of watching your words, because Mr. Long watched all of his words and was deliberate with all of them, especially believing in people, which is you know this part. So with the Fostex, you know, you learned how to use a snake, and there's just so much like tactile, hands-on aspects of music creation that I didn't know existed when I was 10. You know, all I had when I was 10 was my cello and an orchestra of people. Everything was analog. You know, in Kenya, kind of digital things in that respect, in the mid 90s, wasn't really a thing. So I'm being introduced to all of this, and it's tough, like trying to figure out how these things work and why they work was really tough, but I loved it because it was problem solving. It was tactile, hands-on problem solving, which I later learned is my one of my learning methods. And it was so much fun because, again, I think I mentioned this before, but I kind of weaseled my way into being a teacher's pet. So Mr. Jordan, God, all the names are coming back today. Mr. Jordan was my tutor, and this was in lower six. So Mr. Jordan was my tutor in art, and then Mr. Long was kind of basically my tutor as well for music technology. And at a point, I managed to convince him to give me the keys of the music tech department. So in the evening, when we had to do homework and he couldn't be bothered to come down, we could go up there and work and stuff. And I'll be honest now, I don't think I'll get into trouble with this. Like I used to smoke a bit of the devil's lettuce just because it would calm my brain down and I could actually work properly, and it actually worked really well for music tech in discovering sounds and soundscaping. And ultimately, like with this my microphone technique, I don't think I can put this in a course for work, but I spent a lot of time recording myself and figuring out the sweet spots of microphones, because I Mr. Long told me about sweet spots of microphones and sweet spots on my cello when I was recording my cello. There's specific positions that you put the microphone to get the best coming out of a cello. Same with drums. Same with, the kick of a drum kit, right? You don't have just a hollow kick drum and then shove a microphone in there. Oops. I mean, you can, but it depends on the sound you're going for. If you're looking for an indie grunge, just like flooding the space, then you can put a diaphragm, dynamic microphone in there, but it needs to be able to take a beating because that's exactly what it's going to get. But then otherwise, the reason why you see pillows stuffed in kicks is to kind of just get rid of the resonance and just get the nice kind of thud, the punchy kick of a kick. The kick of a kick is what you're looking for, which is why you put pillows in them, just in case you were wondering. And then there's microphone positions on amps and stuff, but I digress. So learning all of that was assisted by some special letters. But it was a great experience. But with that, I had moments where things were just too technical, and I would have like a meltdown. I'd just be like, I can't get this. I can't understand this. This isn't. I don't get this. And I was I the only girl in the music tech. I think I was. Lower six. There's five of us. There's me, Gav, Rat. I think Scobie popped in as well. And then upper, yeah, like literally there was, I think there was one other lady, but she was upper six and she kind of disappeared. Or maybe she was music with a technical aspect. Welcome back, Jim. You've missed a lot, but it's fine. You can always come back on the replay. But we're cool. I'm at A levels now, studying, talking about A levels and that mess. So I was the only girl. Yeah, definitely. I was the only girl in the music tech crew, but I never felt it. Like it was never an issue. It was never kind of pulled out or pointed out or anything. Like we were all even Stevens. But whenever I kind of started doubting myself, this is where Mr. Long came in like a G that he is, and he would sit me down like to one side. Sometimes he'd do it in public, and sometimes like the public berating was kind of brutal, but it makes you a better person. And when I'm just like, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't understand, and he's like, shut up. And I'm like, it's like, if you say that fucking phrase one more time, you're out. And I'm like, but sir, it's just like, he just literally just does the parental point, just like, I said what I said. It's like, fuck around and find out, I think is the phrase that we have nowadays. So like, but sir, I shush. And I'm like, okay, sir, can you help me figure it out? Yes, absolutely. And then we go and figure it out. And he basically instilled this idea of I can't doesn't exist. I mean, you rephrase it to I can't, but like I can't doesn't exist. Bye, Jim. And with that, ultimately, I learned that, you figure it out. You always figure it out. In music, things go wrong. At the beginning of this podcast recording, something went wrong and I could have freaked out, but it's like, oh, well, let's troubleshoot. And he introduced me to the idea of like, you go from the source of the problem and you take your steps back accordingly to figure out where the kink happened, where it happened, right? Because there's always going to be like, the origin of something to where it needs to get to, there's always going to be something that's wrong, right? So he introduced that to me, and it was tough. I'm not going to say like it was easy. It was super duper tough having to deal with that, because you're there freaking out saying I can't in your head, and he's looking at you kind of going, shut the fuck up. I know what you're saying in your head. You need to stop with that. You need to figure this out. And you're just out there going, I can't take the pressure. Oh my God, this is too much. I can't do it. So that was great. But ultimately, having that kind of tutorship, I suppose, that kind of leadership in the music technology space made me believe in my skills. And, I got a very, I think I got an A in coursework, and then I got a B in the actual written exam. Again, written exams just, I can't do it. But it was so much fun. And in that space, that's when I started DJing, because I believed in myself so much from Mr. Long, kind of just saying like, you can figure it out. We had a school disco. This is where my DJing started. We had a school disco, and I literally think his name was Disco Dave, right? We had a Disco Dave at school, and I was sat there with my friend with like nickname Stanish. Oh yeah, Stanish was in the class too, and he came up, and I just sat there going, this music's not great. And we're just sat, chatting or whatever, and a couple of friends and stuff. And like, we could do it better. We could do it better. And he's like, yeah, we should do it. I'm like, we should totally do it. We're going to do it. So over summer holidays, I went and bought a book. Where is it? I think you've seen this book, and I'm going to keep on showing it until the world ends. So I bought one book, and this book is life. All right. If you're oh, there we go. If you're watching this, you will see the book. It is called How to DJ in brackets properly. All right. This book came out in 2005. I want to say 2004. Oh no, 2002. Well, that would make sense because I started DJing in 2003. So this book came out in 2002, right? 2002 came out. I bought it in 2003. I learned how to DJ from this. That's it. I learned how to DJ. My entire skill set as a DJ right now is from this book. I learned the basics, and it's a good book, and I still recommend it to people now. I don't care if controllers exist and you don't need to worry about beat matching. You do need to worry about beat matching. You need to be able to separate two different sounds in your headphones and process both of them separately, right? Exits are here, and here. You need to like do that whilst you're monitoring a crowd, right? And even if you've got your beats in sync or whatever, you still need to listen to phrasing, right? If it's four, a bunch of 4 or 8 or 16. 16 is where the big things happen. 8 is where there's a change where you can start something else if you want like the big drops to happen at the same time. All that jazz from that book. No humans involved, a book. And then I pleaded with my mother to get some CD decks, and I had to do a lot of work over summer to get that. I think she put her car. It was like a £30,000 car to a pawn shop for like 2 weeks to get the money immediately, and then bought it back out like 2 weeks later, which is crazy. She didn't tell me that until much later. I'm just like, what the hell? Like I would have gone and worked. She's like, you can't work. You were like 16 at the time and not a US citizen. I'm like, fair, but still, I would have done something. So I got my CD decks, brought them back in a flight case, back to the UK, and hustled my way. It's incredible just thinking back to it now. Like, I was a little hustler me, hustled my way into doing a school disco. I said, I will do a school disco. Me and Stanish will do a school disco, and we'll do it for charity, and we'll raise money and get people to pay a little bit of money to come in home clothes or fancy dress or whatever. And it worked. I think we raised somewhere in the region of £300 to £400, because everyone came to this school disco that me and Stanish created. And oh no, at the time I didn't have my CD decks then, so I used a CD player. He had turntables, and I used my CD player and another friend's CD player, and we connected it all because music technology, and I knew how to do that through his mixer, and it worked really well. It was a hot mess, but it worked really, really well. And then from that, I showed my mom, like, look, we got a little certificate of recognition from the school, and we got some HMV vouchers, which I spent on music, obviously. And yeah, so I showed that to my mom, and eventually we worked out a way for me to get a pair of CD decks, which I brought back after finishing A levels. So Mr. Long, the holy trifecta of Watch Your Words, he gave me, or he enabled and saw and I can't even find the words for it. Basically, the ability to figure it out and just, you know what you're doing, you just need to get there. God, that's literally something he said. He's like, you know what you're fucking doing, you just need to get there. Because he swore a lot, which is, my love language, obviously. So from that, I had big brass balls in music technology. Music, not so much. Clearly, like, kind of childhood things were still a thing. But I played instruments and I loved them and they were great. And I got a little thing in here, which I forgot to kind of start mentioning, but moving into university, I think this is really important. I have purpose dash thrashing dash music. I think should be equals music. Purpose and thrashing equals music, right? Because when I went to university, I thought I should study creative music and technology. The and in that sentence is really, really important. It was creative music and technology. I wanted to study to become a sound engineer. Unfortunately, that degree was not the one, sis, because it was creative music, and they had a prerequisite that you needed to be grade 8. I was technically grade 8, but playing the cello, but my sight reading was shit. And I don't know how I managed to blag myself onto the course, but I did, because my music technology was pretty good. So, they're like, okay, cool. She knows how to do it. Like, and she plays 8 instruments. Fine. The technology side was great. The music side was not so great. But thankfully, thanks to Mrs. Andrews and Mr. Long, not Mr. Thomas. You don't get praise here. Mrs. Andrews and Mr. Long, the improvisation side of things was really, really fun. And I really thrived in the improvisation because that was like auditory algebra or audible auditory probability. There you go. So it's like auditory probability for me because, there's lots of compounding and polyrhythms and all that kind of stuff, which gets me really excited because it's just like, you hear it as a 6/8, or it could be a 3/4 or like a 12/8 or something, depending on how everything like melds together. So that was really good, but the kind of the classic traditional musical side of things bored me to tears. Thankfully, I haggled and hustled my way into a job as a sound engineer at university, at the university's nightclub. I lied on my CV. If you guys are watching this, I think I said this in a previous episode, and I'll say it again because if as and when this topic comes up, I blagged my way into that job with knowing maybe 2% of what I claimed to know. And I got the job. And then I hit Google like a mofo. No, Google, not you. Go away.
I found a few mobile phone shows.
No. Don't have smartphones, folks. They listen, and so does a smart speaker. They're watching us. I had search engines and libraries to increase my ability, and it worked. Like, that was the most fun. It was basically an apprenticeship into music, right? So the reason why I'm sharing all of this, okay, and I'm not going to go into the rest of it because, like, you kind of know the rest of it. Like, I was a DJ at uni, did really well, reestablished a dying Friday night with Mark, who was another DJ, and Elliot, who's another DJ, and we're all really good friends still. That's the thing. The DJing went, and the sound engineering kind of went. So this musical child, this musical Shiggy, this little Shigimus Prime, right, who wanted to be a musician, just a musician, kind of had her hopes and dreams completely shat upon, torn apart, right, by a shitty Doberman. But somehow, through some weird kind of perseverance, I subconsciously and consciously pivoted. And I think that's really important. If you have the ability to sit and really like think about why an angle that you want to go down has so much friction, sit with it and start looking at other avenues. Is that avenue, is that specific road not suited to your work type, lifestyle, blah 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 blah, then just deviate a little bit. Just do something a little bit different. What that is for you, I don't know, but sit down and journal if you need to, talk to people in that space. Like what I do now, I would have never have thought I would have done as a 10-year-old. Editing audiobooks and podcasts, which for me are literally the easiest thing in the world, only because I thrashed like a motherfucker in A levels because we had to record singing. We had to, I mentioned before, like me and microphones, I had a little obsession to kind of figure out what the sweet spot is, which is serving me now some 20. I can say that. That hurts. It hurts my soul. So I'm almost like 20 years later. Are we reaching 2002? 2012, 2022. Ha ha! It's almost 20 years. I am not old. Right, 20 years ago, I would have never thought that right now I would be using a little obsession that I thrashed about for months and months and months as a skill set. And I still play the cello, but the cello is taking a back burner. And the reason why this is so difficult to do, and there's going to be more parts of music to this, because I do make music, right? And my music at A levels was actually pretty decent, but it was like epic soundscapes and cinematic pieces influenced by Rob Duggan and The Matrix at the time. Like if I can find it, I'll put it up as an intro for part two. But it's something worth considering, whatever you're doing, right? If you're a parent or if you teach young people, it's very important to watch your words because kids are sponges. Whether you like it or not, whether you think they're listening or not, they are sponges and they will take on board anything you say, especially if you are at the head of the spear, at the tip of a spear of something that they really, really enjoy doing. And you might not even notice that that's something they love doing. They might be really quiet, they might be really quiet and just really get stuck into the class, and they don't talk much. They don't really chatter like everyone else because they are so transfixed into what they're doing. ADD. And you might think that they're just bored and they're just kind of, ticking the boxes. Maybe they are, or maybe they really love it. So you have to be really careful with what you say because you could throw that kid off of something that would be really, really enriching for that kid's life. So that's teachers. Parents, the same thing. You know, I can't really tell parents how to be parents. I can tell parents, like, maybe to think of themselves as a kid, right? Remember when you were a kid and remember, when you were at exactly that age, how things were. That's what I can bring to the table because it's true. Unfortunately, my mom tried so desperately to get me back onto the music bandwagon. But I was done with it because, like, for me, music equals death. And I think I'm still struggling with it now, just because I have my instruments. Like looking at them right now, I have my bass guitar, I have a semi-acoustic guitar, I have my cello here, and then I have a cat. And then I have, where is it? My flute is over there. My djembe is in the room next door. There's a place I can go thrash on drum kits down the road, and I sing all the time. I sing and harmonize in the shower every day. It's ridiculous. But it's still there, even if I got told you're gonna die you're gonna be a starving artist. I think what's happening now is I've created a tactical diversion where I've created this business, and this is what I'm actually doing. Like I know that I'm doing it now, and I'm only saying this just to kind of give someone else out there who might have a similar situation. you can create a foundation of something that's close to but not quite where you want to be, and then make that your foundation, make that your kind of money earner in any way, shape, or form, and make sure you work into that the freedom and the ability to go and do the things that you love doing, right? And they will be very similar, and they might be exactly the same, but one like pays your bills and the other one like you do for funsies, like this podcast, right? I do this podcast for funsies. Initially it was, to help me with a lot of brain stuff dealing with my mom's suicide, but now, I've committed to 100 of these, obviously, and I do not like not like finishing commitments. But also, as you guys do reach out in various places on the interwebs, apparently some of this stuff is helpful. And I can only carry on doing that. I love helping people. And if this music part one, which was very, very heavily theoretically, psychologically, philosophically driven, helps someone, then I'm happy. So yeah, if you have a purpose that you really are enjoying, it's important to thrash through it as much as you can. Like, don't try and then just be like, well, I tried a little bit and that's it, because that doesn't help anybody. You know, ultimately, it doesn't help you, and that's what we want. We want you to help yourself, and I think that's where I'm going to wrap up today's episode. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was a long one. It ended up being a bit longer than 40 minutes. But as usual, if you love this, go and subscribe to my podcast wherever you are, Apple or Google or Amazon or Castbox or Himalaya or wherever. And give it a rating. And yeah, love your faces, and I will see you on the next episode, whatever that may be. If you're on Facebook, come check out the live stream that I do on Facebook and Tuesday on YouTube. Wow, I am so tired. Facebook and YouTube is where I do my live streams. So come have a noodle, 10 a.m. British summertime, I think is what we're on right now. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram as Shig. You can find me on Twitter as Shig. I'm on Facebook as Shigimus or just Shiggy Pactor is the thing. And yeah, I love your faces, and I'll see you when I see you. Okay, bye. Woo! Nell, thank you so much for being an absolute trooper. Thank you for watching that and listening and stuff. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. Like, when there's people in like the chat and stuff and people are watching, it kind of energizes me a little bit to go a little bit further and to kind of go a little bit deeper and think a little bit broadly. So yeah, that's the episode done, and I promise to God that it'll be up on Thursday this week. Like, last week was an absolute hot mess, and the week before just because of mum things and stuff, and it's gonna happen. But yeah, we're back. I'm back on routines. I secretly did I did a jiu-jitsu yesterday, and it felt so good, and I hurt so much today, which is why I'm a little bit off kilter. But otherwise, no, there's no such thing as disturbing. Like, literally, if you post in the comments, I will like I have a brain with many squirrels, many squirrels. You don't understand how many there are in here, but I can handle that. Like, I can sidetrack off onto the thing, come back in, and then go off onto the other thing. So please, if you ever jump in on here and I'm doing the thing, write, respond, comment, whatever. It's all good. Jim, you missed the whole thing, my bro. Oh no. It's all good. So these happen every Tuesday at 10 a.m. and I potentially can talk for an hour, or it might be 40 minutes. No one knows. I don't even know. I just have post-its that I go through. So this is a post-it that I pulled off of my monitor. My monitor's covered in post-its. It looks like a porcupine. So that was today's episode. Is it going to focus? No. But whatever. Watch your words, music, blah, 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 blah. So that's how I roll. One post-it and go. So yeah, Jim, you missed the whole thing, unfortunately, but it's fine. It'll be up on Thursday, she says. I'm going to pin this as the pinned thing on my profile, because that's the thing you can do now on Facebook, which is pretty funky. So you can watch back if you feel like it. Um, I think you can do audio only now, which is a cool feature that they have. And then on Thursday, I will update that pinned post with the podcast episode. So you can go and do the thing. If you are subscribed to my podcast channel on Spotify or Amazon or Audible, no, Spotify, Apple, Google, those are the big three, Amazon. If you're subscribed to my Getting Shiggy with podcast on there, you will instantly get it and you'll get a heads up going, hey, there's a new episode out. You should go check it out because Shiggy's cool and stuff. Anyway, I'm done. I'm finished. I love your faces. Nell and Jim, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And Jim, we need to have a chat. Like, we have been OG buddies from 2003. I don't know, when I was DJing at uni. I think that's when we first bumped into each other. I was DJing at the student union. So yeah, we need to have a catch up. What I'll do with the podcast when it comes up is I'll make links to everything, like so all the popular podcast spaces where my show is. So you can go have a noodle. Just search for Getting Shiggy with, and you know how to spell my name, Jim. You better know how to spell my name. No pressure. Not with a Y, okay? Not with a Y. Stop it. Stop playing. All right, so today's Tuesday. Have a fun Tuesday wherever you guys are in the world. Hopefully there's no more morning calls for you, Jim. Like there's only one more hour until it's afternoon calls. Score. All right, I'm gonna go to the gym now. My body hurts. Like the mind is willing, but the body is broken. But on we go. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Okay, bye, 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 bye.